I have a couple of things on my mind that I want to talk about before headed outside. I've got I have a grinder, so I try to make my own barker mulch because we have an acre and a half and a lot of trees, and it requires a lot of barker mulch. So whenever leaves fall down, I collect them, put them through the grinder, and it's a little bit after 8 o'clock, and the cul-de-sac has a lot of school-age kids. They're all off to school, but I don't know if the parents take extra naps in the morning after the kids are gone. So before I turn on my grinder that makes a horrifying noise, I wanted to give it a few minutes before I headed out. And I had a couple of thoughts, so I thought I'd just lay them out here. I'm troubled by the lack of depth in preaching today. And we go to some churches, we watch a lot of services online. I'm concerned about just the lack of really rightly dividing the word of truth. It seems to me like a lot of churches are more into their door prize gifts and their bounce houses than they actually are about the cross of Christ. It's troubling the lack of real spiritual depth that people are receiving. And my concern is that at the end of time here, that Christians are going to starve to death. And so I've been praying about what do we do under those conditions? And I realize that what has to happen is that we all become self-feeders. That you and I do two things. We dig deep into the Word, study, and apply it. I got a lot out of the book of Philippians last week, thinking about Paul being imprisoned at that house church in Rome, and what he said to the Philippians in the book of Philippians in those 4 chapters. Maybe start there, because it really spoke to me when I was dealing with this idea of the lack of exegesis, the lack of preparation, how we're more into the hype of branding of our church services than we are actually what we're feeding people. So we have to become self-feeders, personally, individually. And I think the other thing is, rather than spout off too much about it, we stay in our lane. That's what I'm trying to do by sharing this on a video, is that we do stay in our lane. We cannot control other people. I noticed something after Rich Strike won the Kentucky Derby, and talk about a long shot, 80 to 1, 100 to 1. Rich Strike won the Kentucky Derby, the hugest upset they said since 1913 at a Kentucky Derby. But after the race, Rich Strike could not be tamed, kept biting at the other horses. And that's what a horse does to assert its dominance, is bite. And I think about assertion of dominance, power and control. We don't need to seek after power and control or who's right or wrong, but the right thing would be to pray and to stay in my own lane and to become a self-feeder in the face, especially of those things we think are unfair, especially as things become more and more shallow, which they will, because they are on that course, more and more shallow spiritually, that you and I develop ourselves in a depth of maturity in self-feeding. God bless. Have a great week.